Let's turn now to Diane Swonk for her outlook for the U.S. economy. She's chief economist of Mesirow Financial. Hi, Diane. I'd like to start talking to you about the job market, just where Hampton Pearson left off. We got a survey from the Federal Reserve this week saying that a lot of people feel that their chances of getting a job are a lot better. Are we going to see spring hiring?
We are going to see spring hiring. We're also going to see some catch up to that winter doldrums that we did go through, particularly in the month of January. Many of the parts of the country that suffered the worst in harsh winter conditions, we saw people sort of hibernate. We also saw people migrate, and they moved. We saw vacations have now surged. And in the Federal Reserve report this last week, we saw that there was a lot of ski resorts seeing a lot of strong bookings, some of the best winter they've seen, and people going to sunny vacations. Even summer bookings are up now because people are sort of scrambling to do anything they can to shake off these winter doldrums. That's going to be increased hiring in things like amusement parks, hotels, leisure, and hospitality. What we really want to see, though, is the shift to higher quality jobs into manufacturing and construction, and I think we're going to see that as well. We are seeing construction come back, albeit not as rapidly as we'd like. I think there's enormous potential there, and I think construction is going to do better than overall home sales do because we really have a real lack of inventories out there, and we're finally starting to see some activity there as well.
I was one of those hibernators, Diane, and I just woke up, and I'm
I
really
was a
cranky,
hibernator,
by the
too.
way. No, not at all. If you had to put a grade on the economy as you look forward into the summer months, what would that grade be right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, unfortunately, I was one of those kids who always strive for A's, even though it wasn't very easy to do. And so anything less than an A, even an A minus, was considered really horrible in my household. That said, we were sort of in a C to C minus economy. I think we're moving towards a B to B minus economy. That's still not as good as it should be. And I think Janet Yellen made that very clear in her speech that week, that we've made this progress, but it's not enough. Of those 8.8 million jobs we recouped in the private sector, most of them were in low-wage jobs, when the bulk of the jobs we lost were in higher wage manufacturing, construction, business services, and that's where we just not the number of jobs we create, but the quality of the jobs that we create as well.
All right, so we know that when people have jobs, then they feel much better about taking those vacations that you were talking about or spending money. Will we see consumers spending given what's going on in the job market?
We're going to see very uneven consumer spending, sort of a bifurcated consumer market reflecting income inequalities, reflecting where the money is, and also where the pent-up demand is. We have vehicles that not only are already old and being scrapped at a record pace, they also got hit very hard by this winter, and they're being replaced at a record rate. Now that people are returning to the showrooms, you've seen vehicle sales pick up quite substantially. I think that's where a lot of pent-up demand is. You also have an ability now to use home equity lines of credit where you couldn't, to do remodeling, to add on to your house. Not as many people are willing to still trade up or actually try to qualify for a new mortgage, but it's much easier to qualify for a home equity line of credit than even a mortgage is, and people are going to be doing that remodeling, big ticket spending in that area where we haven't seen it for some time. It's not as much as we want because we'd like to see churn in the housing market, which is the biggest trigger to additional consumer spending, but you are going to see some real big ticket spending. On the other side of it, you've got a lot of consumers still moving out of the middle of the market, down the retail food stream, and into discounters, continuing to stay in discounters, and you don't have a lot of apparel sales. Apparel's been really a difficult area because you've got demographics, not only has the birth rate fallen, we no longer have a lot of as many kids entering school as we did, so back to school sales aren't as great, but also older workers just don't need as much of a new wardrobe. And unfortunately, up until recently, many of the jobs we're creating uniform jobs, not wardrobe jobs.
I'm going to ask you a long question, but ask you to give a short answer.
A short answer? I'm not possible, Tyler.
How concerned are you as an economist about income inequality in the United States?
Very concerned. It's actually one of the #1 concerns I have today.
Diane, that's a hard question to answer short, but you just did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diane Swonk of Mesirow Financial. Have a great weekend, Diane.